Teaching by Jhado Rinpoche. So it's going to be a beautiful Q&A session. But before we begin, let me pass the mic to Anila, who will guide us in some prayers before teachings. Thank you.
Okay, let's do the prayer together. Hum Hum Sambara Sambara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. Om Smara Smara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. Om Sambara Sambara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. Om Smara Smara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. Om Sambara Sambara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. Om Smara Smara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. Om Sambara Sambara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. Om Smara Smara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. Om Sambara Sambara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. Om Smara Smara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. Om Sambara Sambara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. Om Smara Smara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. Om Sambara Sambara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. Om Smara Smara Vimana Saramaha Java Hum. I take refuge in the Gurus, I take refuge in the Buddhas, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Gurus, I take refuge in the Buddhas, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Gurus, I take refuge in the Buddhas, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. To the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I go for refuge and enlightened by the merits from listening to the Dharma. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of benefiting all mother sentient beings. To the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I go for refuge and enlightened by the merits from listening to the Dharma. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of benefiting all mother sentient beings. To the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I go for refuge and enlightened by the merits from listening to the Dharma. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of benefiting all mother sentient beings. In particular, I must achieve enlightenment quickly in order to free all numberless kind mother sentient beings from the unimmeasurable ocean of samsaric sufferings and lead them to peerless full enlightenment. For this purpose, I must listen and thereafter put into practice the teachings of the profound Buddha Dharma. Yata Shami Shamawati Shamita Shankro Angre Mangre Marositi Karoti Gyori Tezovati Uluyani Wishida Nimani Mana Panayi Kukri Kaka Grasi Grasani Omuki Para Muki Amuki Shamitani Sawa Graha Bandap Nane Negahitwa Sarva Para Pawadina Vimuta Mara Pasha Siddhapitwa Buddha Mudra Anun Gadita Sawa Mari Patarita Parishudi Vigasantu Sawa Mara Kermani. I prostrate to the gathering of Dakinis of the three places, coming from the supreme holy sites of space and joy, who have the powers of clairvoyance and magical emanation, and regard practitioners as the offspring. Aka Samarata Shadarasa Marayapi. Aka Samarata Shadarasa Marayapi. Aka Samarata Shadarasa Marayapa. Tayata Gadi Gadi Pargati Parasam Gadi Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gadi Gadi Pargati Parasam Gadi Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gadi Gadi Pargati Parasam Gadi Bodhi Soha. Through the power of the great truth of the words of the three jewels, may all adverse conditions be overcome. They become non-existent. May they be pacified. May all the evils such as enemies, obstacles and hindrances and adverse conditions be pacified. Shatim Kriye Soha. May the 80,000 types of obstacles be pacified. May we be separated from adverse harmful conditions. May everything conducive be obtained, and may the auspiciousness of everything good, may there be excellent happiness here and now. May all sentient beings achieve extraordinary superior happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from the unbearable sea of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be parted from the bliss of super liberation. May all sentient beings be free of all bias, attachment, and anger to near ones and aversion to others. To accomplish my own and others' aims, I join the altruistic intention to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. To accomplish my own and others' aims, I generate the altruistic intention to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. To accomplish my own and others' aims, I generate the altruistic intention to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Reverently, I prostrate my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering, actually offered to mentally transform. I confess all my negative actions accumulated since particular time, and rejoice in the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until samsara ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. I dedicate all the virtues of others and myself to the great enlightenment. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard. Once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajagriha at Vajrapik Mountain, together with a great gathering of Sangha of monks and a great gathering of Sangha of Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered a samadhi that expresses the Dhamma called profound illumination, And at the same time, Noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasava, while practicing profound personal paramita, saw in this way. He saw the 5 skandhas to be empty of nature. Then through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Sariputra said to Noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasava, how should a son or daughter of the noble family train who wishes to practice a profound personal paramita? Addressed in this way, Noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasava, said to Venerable Sariputra, O Sariputra, a son or daughter of noble family who wishes to practice a profound personal paramita should sing this way. Seeing is the 5 skandhas to be empty of nature. Form in as emptiness, emptiness also is form. Emptiness is no other than form. Form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness are emptiness. Thus, Sariputra, all dhammas are emptiness. There are no characteristics. There is no birth and no cessation. There is no impurity and no purity. There is no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Sariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no perception, no formation, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no dhammas, no I dhatu up to no mind dhatu, no dhatu of dhammas, no mind consciousness dhatu, no ignorance, no end of ignorance up to no old age and death, no end of old age and death, no suffering, no origin of suffering, no cessation of suffering, no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Sariputra, since the Bodhisattvas have no attainment, they abide by means of personal paramita. Since there is no obscuration of mind, there is no fear. They transcend falsity and attain complete nirvana. All the Buddhas of the 3 times by means of personal paramita fully awaken to unsurpassable true complete enlightenment. Therefore, the great mantra of personal paramita, the mantra of great insight, the unsurpassed mantra, unequaled mantra, the mantra that comes over suffering should be known as truth. Since there is no deception, the personal paramita mantra is said in this way: Tayata gati gati parakati parasam gati bodhi svaha. Thus, Sariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasava should train a profound personal paramita. Then the Blessed One arose from the Samadhi and praised Noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasava, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, thus it is. O son of noble family, thus it is. One should practice profound personal paramita just as you have taught, and all the Dagadas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Sariputra and Noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasava, the whole assembly and the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Okay, we'll take a break here.
And thank you, Anila. So welcome everyone who just stepped in. Welcome to everyone that's online, that's watching this as well. So welcome to Tek Chen Choling, and this is tonight's Dharma teaching. We are doing a beautiful Q&A with Jhado Rinpoche. So a quick one is that there has been some questions that already is fed into the system. So if time permits, then on the ground we'll pick up more questions from there. Yeah. So tonight is the night, and yes, let me click this. And in today's announcements, so Kala Chakra Puja, which is happening on Li Chun, the 4th of February. So there's actually 3 pujas that's going to happen on this day from 10 a.m. onwards. So His Eminence Jhado Rinpoche will be presiding the 3 special blessing pujas on Li Chun to pray for world peace and harmony, and also the welfare of all beings. So join us on site as well as online to pray together and gather heaps of auspiciousness for the year of the water rabbit. So do fill up your names if you can't come by. So there is closing dates so that the staff can prepare for all the blessings and things like that, right? So names and all that to be in 3rd of February, 8 a.m. Yeah, everybody please rise.
Okay, we shall all recite Gandhala Gama together. Gaden lagi kungi tukani rabka zo sara pundri zo jinzi shogi gapo kungi lo sandra Sedang Chipani Deshe Suso Dongi Namka Sindre Bedete Tetsun Lama Gepe Sum Ganchin Dalo De Peso Nam Jun Chodo Geche Gao Gya She Suso Shiji Kong Kunja We Lo Duru Ke sam na we gengyu le shisu rape pagi la me zi pegu don ru den bi don de la cha sa yon chu yum na to me do da ri shin ru po nan sa ri cha sho ngô sham yi tru tru trin ya tso di so nam jin chu gi la cho ba bu ji to mi tu ni sa pa yi lu nga yi gi mi gi chi gi na gi pa dum pa sum gi mi dun chu in ni gyu pa ra pu so so sha ime do de man ro to la zo chu gi pam pe dao jun do yun ji gom bo kyo gi la chen za pa la ta cha sam pa ta pe rang o te chun la ma dam pa gi nam gi chu ku ka la gen ze chu jin ri Sambe du je je ma la sam gi chu gi cha ba ap tu so na gi ji ne sa pe ge wa di den dan ro wa kun la gam pen da ge pa ji su lo san dra pa yi den pe nim bo rin du sa ji sho mi mi tso wei de qian qian ren zi ri mei qian bei wang bo jiang bei yang gan qian qian bei cong qian cong ka ba lo san zha bei sha la so wa di. Okay,
And
let's
let's
make prostration.
offer 3 prostrations, please.
Everybody, good evening. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That ring also totaling to the Shabarbas. And to a show Galayonare, Ming Katu Lanjagi, to Tangionare, and Teleshis and Lanjaya in das. And Marishimba Shimba the Lanjab, and Mashimba the Lamb Mavche, or those dry in das.
Today we will be doing a question and answer session. So we have received some questions already, and perhaps also maybe if there are questions from the floor or from the audience, if there's an opportunity you could ask your questions later. So whatever I know, I will answer. If I do not know the answer, then I will just tell you, yeah.
Yeah, that to what dinner karkar to chig labda. Oh, please, you read English.
So the first question is, good evening, Rinpoche. Can you guide us on how we should meditate and guide us in a short meditation session, please? Oh, that's on the screen, yeah.
Ta gom jab sa tinalaya chitang gom ni yobati ken gorwas jogom singeji da jagom singeji. Oh, ta mambuchi gom jab sidu jogom jogo chil samno kogi yores. Yine ya ane jogom da jagom ni yobata. Jogom da jagom ni gi nane kabre ngaran so le thangbo wala ya jagom di pendo shukcha yoba. Res.
In the first place, you need to know that there are 2 forms of meditation: analytical meditation and placement meditation, where you place your mind syncopated on a chosen object. So when many people, when they think of meditation, they think that meditation only involves, placing your mind single-pointedly on a chosen object, But however, I think many a times for us beginners, the practice of analytical meditation is more beneficial.
다 이내 조공고 털이야. 이제 빅치 subject 간라마동 치지 라와원도 따나. 에네 상계 좀 된데기 에네 간주 노팅이지 개변하나 숭여를 봤어. 세르기 카도타고 굴류기 지된 거 먹고도 잡았댔어. 미과텔라 강기생 샤바 장주 선바 대념 샤지 자스 제제 에네 수수인 듄텔이야. 상계 좀 된데 찬성부 순주자님다 빼제성부 예주제 대백이 다 딘디지기 계주 두소 강세세지기 딘디지기다 직대한 거 먹고는 잡았댔어. 순대도 왔어. 에네 왜설 쳤대봐. 세르게 카도타고 굴류기스 왜설 쳤대봐. 다 대답하더라. 아니 왜설 쳐와 티기 규생 가리 여러 채가 있나? 아니 지원 쪽이요 봐. 아니 세르게 카도타고 지고 정보지기 왜설 쳐와 티기 지원 쪽이요 봐다. 세르기 사가 세르세거데 지단 노비 담담만 뭐여래. 들이야 세르세 타니 가르친 따버스나 세르디 지고 정보요 봐. 틴데기 토네 지고 첨부 여대바지기 아니양 미과 제바이나 고백견티 세기여바 아니 왜세트와티기 징회견티 세기여다바 군두 제바티 세바티기 세상기 연된도서 템바 다 틴데지기 하장 채와 마임바 하장 충와 마임바 하장 타 링와 마임바 하장 타 녀와 마임바 하장 토와 마임바 하장 마와 마임바 랑기 민sam기 최기 아니 차 장자지 세베이나 디 사자트비지 오타른도 딘데 지글이야 아니도 스미바티도 숭제 아니도 스텔리아 아니 담보 까마치 되네 까마니 되네 까마치 두스 제지 니리 신도 링루 단제 아니 콜리아 아니 살차여봐 당차여봐 아니 당체 나르단데봐 딘데지기 정화라고 정화 참모 아니 정화 신도 참모 교회도 좀 매대버지기 어떤데 질이야 미고도 지기 있나 아니 그 곰도 야고 열었잖아 까말라실레가 곰림 나라에 담도 왔어 노팅이지 야벨룽드 타네 담도 왔어 아나 캬베 미박 제반 남종고 미박 스네 단데 신내기 미박 망보숨 위키네 딘담도 와스 가르스나 상기 제수 템베 페양 토그레스 아니 미바티 도스치기나 띵지 미바츠치도 네베 연덴테야 용그레스 오 딘데테스 곰기나 야부시고 요레스.
So out of the two types of meditations that I've just shared with you, maybe let me say a little bit about the placement meditation, where you choose a particular object of meditation and you focus on it in order to develop some concentration. So the Buddha, in the King of Concentrations Sutra, the Buddha said, "The glorious protector of the world with a body the color of gold. The bodhisattva whose mind engages this object is said to be in equipoise." So we take an image of the Buddha as our object of observation, then and we visualize in our mind that the body of Buddha is adorned with the 32 major signs and the 80 minor signs, and the color of his holy body is gold, and his body is radiating light. Okay, so and we try to develop as clear as possible a mental image of this in our minds. Yeah. So why do we visualize the Buddha's body radiating light? So if we imagine that the Buddha's body is radiating light, it will help us to it will help to cut or eliminate laxity. And and amongst the different kinds of precious objects or substances there are. So why is it that we focus on visualizing the Buddha's body as in the color of gold? Because gold is a metal, and by nature it is heavy, isn't it? So yes, while we imagine that the Buddha's body is radiating light, but it is also golden in color. And you mentally, you should imagine that that mental image of yours is a little bit on the heavy side. So if you meditate like this, it will also help to keep our minds anchored on the object of meditation, isn't it, right? So this prevents mental excitement, the mind from running all over the place, yeah, okay? And when you are visualizing the Buddha, you shouldn't make your mental image too big or too small, okay? And it shouldn't be too far away from you, neither should it be too near to you. And then as for the height, you shouldn't visualize the Buddha too high up or too low down, too below, but just at the level, basically at the level of the eyebrows, and then perhaps at the distance of the body length, just right in front of you, okay? And then, and of course, we have to develop this habit of doing this practice every day. So of course, you start by trying to focus on this image as clearly as possible for a minute, then 2 minutes, and then you gradually increase the length of time. Yeah, but the main thing here is that whenever you're doing the practice, you should try your best to make sure that that mental image in your mind is appearing very clearly and vividly. And on top of that, there should be some intensity behind the mind's holding on to the object, So there must be these features, yeah, okay? So, and of course in the teachings, they taught about developing a concentration that is free of laxity and mental excitement. And there are coarse and subtle forms of both laxity and excitement. The thing is to develop a concentration that is free of such faults, yeah. So if you look at the great Indian master Kamalashila's writings, he wrote a couple of texts on meditation. And in those texts, he cited, this verse from the King of Concentrations Sutra. Yeah? So why do we choose the Buddha as an object of meditation? There are many things you can meditate on, It is mentioned in the teachings that, when we are trying to develop calm abiding or meditative serenity, there are many things that one can meditate on. But, Kamalashila, for example, chose or suggested that perhaps that we should maybe focus on Shakyamuni Buddha, because besides, some of the benefits that I mentioned earlier on, by choosing the Buddha as your object of meditation, you will also get the benefit of remembering the Buddha. Yes.
Tatine tandati serjatang tangchatang tangche ngardan demba saji gejachituas tile pedro jikshebe hinas ngarang zu lakpe tingwachi dangje omani peme hung seje tingwate thangbo dang de dokdo ri chindu svet ko tamri cheje dangaji duas yenzu jing nyopto ruji cha indu dangi yeba ruji dus ina tagi tamri timindu was yenzu jing ni jo jab je dus chin tingwate lakwe kanma mege sal short hoto was pena lakwa tingwachi dangba ina yang tangbo tat ji ngarje ba tangche ngarje ba na shi tamdingding ji ye de ba dene tambu di ane yenzu jing ne semdi 흐르지 밥루디 곧 담딩딩데 매대버지게 되죠. 안 단도양 뺐대 지 증거 숙제 차인도 증거 나왔는 쇼도야지. 어빼tin 신레스. 어텐데 많이 버지게 담딩딩 미미미 멘틀이야 세자 여바 정도 맛에 당자 여바 둥딩딩 지게 뺐대 시민이 있어야 되베 소리지 그거 열었어. 시민이 있나 신지가 둥딩딩 지고 열었어. 대직레스. 다 될이야. 아니 제르무체게 맹알라야 투 충라 정망와스 딘데체제 당본에 배디 추주 차가다 추주 지다 딘데 곰작이 있으네 도스체지 규르물야 대야들이야 배체 차바이나 아니 젤이야 데사티 수수 곰자세 덴데 통연드네 아니 셰멜로야지 다 잡마시야지 대ව로 사지 도스 용그레스 다 배트 당차 여바 세자 여바 동딩디 여베 카두들 다 다도야 페이지 까마직스 된 대투사레 성산직 가로 되네 튼지 되샤게 있나 젤이야 디 덴데 통연 버가 딩잉 되버지 용그레스 디인도 투 충라스 두주 통통통통제 안에 장가 망스체 도스체제 안에 대저체게 있네 야보 여르스 다 두조 냠용 까메레스.
So the kind of the concentration that we would want to develop is one that possesses the feature of clarity and vividness, and there is also an intensity behind the mind's holding on to the object. So let me just give you an example. Yeah. We take out our mala and we recite a mantra like Om Mani Padme Hum, isn't it, right? So maybe at the beginning, we are kind of like focusing, So we pull the beads of the mala, and when you pull the beads of the mala, you can feel that you're pulling the beads of the mala, isn't it? There's you're present, and that feeling is very clear, But then after a while, maybe after a couple of malas, maybe, I don't know, we get bored or whatever, maybe then the way of holding on to the mala is maybe not as tight as before, right? But maybe, perhaps, there may come a time when we won't fall asleep, yeah? And then when you fall asleep, then the mala slips from the hand, isn't it, right? So, so this is analogous to how the tightness of our mental focus, So at the beginning, when we were reciting in the mantra with the mala, there was kind of like a tightness of the focus, isn't it? Right? There's the way So then later on, after a couple of malas, then we are not as focused as before, But we are kind of still.
라바도 럽루 도와스 담보 도와스 되는 럽루 도와스 되는데 진짜 친구들 마사로 도와스.
So at the beginning, you are like pulling each and every beat, Then after a while, then it becomes like kind of sliding over the beats, Then after a while, maybe we drop the whole mala, right? So that's like an example of how what concentration should be and should not be, right? So there should be a sense of tightness of holding on to the object of observation, right? But then when mental laxity sets in, then the mind becomes a little bit loose, But when cause laxity takes over, then that is like like us losing the mala when we are doing our prayers, right? Okay. So, as I said, the concentration that we're trying to develop must have the feature of clarity, and the mental object must appear very vividly. And also there must be a sense of intensity behind, a strength behind the mind's holding on to the object, all right? Okay, so if you look at Jhado Rinpoche's Lama Tsongkhapa's writings, in his Lamrim Chenmo on developing calm abiding, right? So, which is all an explanation from his own experience, yeah? So, he suggests that we should start we should start with, we should not do long sessions at the beginning. Yeah, we should do sessions that are short in length, but we can do many sessions, but sessions that are short in length. Yeah, you should not, should be ambitious and start by doing like 1 or 2 hour sessions. Because after a while, you may not be so enthusiastic. Yeah. And then to the point that, when you get up from that 1 or 2 hour very long session at the beginning, and then you look at the seat, you feel a bit nauseous. It's like, alamak, I have to do another session soon, we shouldn't end up in such a situation, okay? So we should start by doing short sessions. And in those short sessions, if you do it well, you have a positive experience. Then when you finish the session, then you still have this wish to do another session again, isn't it? Right? Yeah.
Ta lobun chandra kumi shaktu sayagi chapitina ne zomba tengna goba jengyushins teta lena chingwa jengyubis dagi semjomba kawenas watindi tanga chima chishin roma sunde zomba chambu chanane yang goba chikya sem troat shukcha rudus zomba mate nanane yang chingwa je rudus tak mane tane goba yang meba chingwa yang mebe ki takta ti ane shibuji shakabuji resha dus 제저 두스레스 대인도 소수 니리 처변나네 냠용체네 다 지원자 잡고 두와서 소수 예배토네 샘 퉁팅딩이 지가나 여대봐 다양 샘 초주고 두와서네 아니 초와 까베 샘 내탑체야지 더 슈 딩이 끼기 다 딩이 니기 견다 잡에 끼 딱딱 들려야 아니 소수 냠용고 토네 다티 미께지 셴는 라케야지 요마라 냠용고 토네 소소 라트네 도스체지 친구기 견다 잡에 아니 미바텔이야 주고 그레스 제제 러브젠더 코미티인데 숨고도와
So the Indian master Chandra Gomin, so he said that if we push too much, then when you are trying to in the course of developing concentration in your practice, if you are not careful, if you push too much, then this will promote mental excitement. To the when there's mental excitement, you have difficulty keeping your mind on the object. You are easily distracted. But if you don't put in the right amount of effort, if you don't, then laxity, mental laxity increases. So it's really not easy to find the balance for yourself. Everyone is different. Yeah? So we have to do this in our daily lives, this practice. Yeah. So in the practice of developing concentration, while you're developing that concentration, focusing on a chosen object, your mind should be alert. And then within that practice, we have to keep a lookout for those two obstacles, laxity and mental excitement. Yeah, we have to keep a lookout, whether the mind is coming under the influence of laxity or excitement. So, and we have to find the balance, being between pushing too much and being a bit too relaxed, So this is something that we have to discover for ourselves, the balance, This is not something that you can find in a text or you have to discover this through your own experience. The thing is that whatever concentration that you are developing, it must be free from the faults of laxity and excitement.
다 계정망 보면 두스 람심 나라야 아니 녀방가 본 두제게 새 tin데 당 운다는 숨보다 아니 도디게는 숨도 샘내베 탑고 수양라고다 오다 두조 예시게베 여래 인도 두조 돌아 다야레스 다 단데디 누리야 삼땅도 와스 누리야 산게 새다고도 와스 디 다 돌아이 딘데 삼단의 초고요래 나래 딘데 삼단의 초로 왔어 다 나기 유도 오마다 기림다 뒤즈갑려야 양 코나 투모 마임베 짓게제 시에네 düğünle samtama mayimba o kutanga gomjagi ngawlu tende gomjagi isna rani la chiksne ta rani la sit kotiya tis dagmi doas tanda ngaranzo migdigi chilo la pataya lela doas so rani sobta kari yebati thongya khabo doas shego chil tanama to thongya be doas ta rani chenresi rani jizu doma sa ji tende chi samno chi tango chuna yang ko düğünle sange setabata drama songas o tus chene yam mikbe band pate ba maimba chu sosorani hakula mingne en tinde chati ta ngaru thumu maimba gi jogum gi tapse chigrabas ta dun tene ya tharu tangbaina ta rangi lubul hagu gombati tongja chene nyaba tongile tambe sonan hagu gombati chigo maimba di nangi sabe hui singenti dus chama gane ma dus sawol ma dus tebe surji ni sabdeng rimol tebe surji maimba hum inare tam inare shi inare tendabe sabenti rangsem ngo yerme o dus chene samnochi tangsa tillela bo kyonemido was ti rangi lubul hagu gomba telet ting sabru do was sabenti ta rangsem ngo yeme yin sadi ta pekala kabodo was 다 되네 기름 게자 육샤 조름 게자 셰윤두 세점 리점 어 된지지기 셈 세점 리점티 못해버 챘네 대가랑리야 애니 믹바테네 애니 냠버 조생지 아니 지 상아 닝메 룽니 셰바이나 조바 첨부 이실람 제신 조바 첨부 세점 리점 까다기 애니 랑모 모 셰바 챘네 딩이랑 심메바 땡레베 송아지 용도 왔어 다 도도 애니 semzam sezam rizam singedela sugjem minduas shinar taminar se kol otre ya sobta trachi yorwas ta sezam rizam singedela sobta minduas sugjem marwas o tel ale tam miwa kor ratya khabo o miwa ngoshebe thoba inaya tel chik tu nesa te thewe kyang kala khabo o dus chene ta nga gomjik jagi gomjatan lapsna gom koran ra minda duas o tit tagastan ngotu chamis jogom ngotu chamis
the details for developing or the calm abiding or meditative serenity can be found in the stages of the path literature or the Lamrim teachings. So in short, there is the presentation on the 5 faults that occur during the practice of during the cultivation of concentration, and there are the 8 antidotes that are recommended for dispelling those 5 faults. There is also an explanation of how calm abiding is developed through the 9 mental states. Yeah. All right. So the details are all in the Lamrim literature. You can look up those details for yourself. But whatever the case, I've just given you this. What I've just said is an example, with regards to Shakyamuni Buddha as our object of observation, isn't it? So this is a meditation that focuses on an object kind of in front of us, so to speak, isn't it? In the space in front of us, so to speak, isn't it? So such a kind of practice is common to both Sutra and Tantra, meditating on something in front of us, so to speak, right? So to speak, yeah? Then, when you come to Tantra, for example, in the practice of deity yoga in the 3 lower classes of Tantra, and in the practice of the generation stage of highest yoga Tantra. Deity yoga involves visualizing ourselves as the deity, isn't it, right? So, and that is done by first meditating on emptiness, and then we imagine that the mind realizing emptiness then appears in the form of the deity that one is practicing. It could be Tara, it could be Avalokiteshvara, whatever it is, Here, we are not focusing on something in front of us, so to speak, but rather we are focusing on ourselves as a particular deity, right? So this is a little bit more challenging than focusing on something in front of us, so to speak, isn't it? And then, usually in the practice of deity yoga, after you have arisen as a deity, then we visualize sit syllables, different letters, right? For example, at the heart of yourself, you could be you could be visualizing a letter Hong, or letter Hri, or letter Tam. But whatever it is a little bit more challenging than focusing on the deity's body that you have arisen as. When we are focusing on the sit syllable at the heart, it is not a question of us being up here and then looking down at the sit syllable, but rather, you have to imagine that sit syllable is your mind, in fact. So in fact, it's as if that your mind has entered into the object of observation. You're not really up here looking down at the sit syllable, right? Your mind, you should imagine that your mind's of one taste, one nature with that sit syllable. So it's even more challenging than visualizing the deity's body, isn't it, right? Then when we talk about the practice of concentration in the completion stage of High Sukha Tantra, then it is even more challenging because there is a practice of being introduced to the conventional nature of the mind. We say that the mind is that which is mere clarity and awareness. And on the basis of being introduced to the conventional nature of the mind, then we are supposed to place our mental attention on that. Yeah. So in the Nyingma tradition, for example, in the practice of the great completion or Dzogchen, isn't it, right?
Right. Then Karjulayina, Giluda Karjula Chashana, Mahamudra, Chakchen, Sajalayina, Satong Sunju, Sawa Semdi Tsini, Tomba Semdi Rangshin, or Satong Sunju, Tuzukanga Semdi Tol, Kamen Sungud was. Mikten. Oh, that the in the Taru Shudu was Tar.
In the High Sukha Tantra practice, especially on the completion stage, right? So on the basis of being introduced to the conventional nature of the mind, then we focus on the mind, that which is mere luminosity and awareness, and then we place our mental attention on that. This is very difficult, So put aside, placing our mind, our attention on the mind, that which is mere luminosity and awareness. In the first place, to even experientially understand what is mere luminosity and awareness is so difficult. We cannot even identify the object of meditation. How are you going to put your attention on it, isn't it? So here, as I mentioned earlier on, in the Nyingma tradition, in the practice of the great completion or Dzogchen, right, which involves taking the wisdom into the path, where they meditate on Rikpa, on the extremely subtle mind. Anyway, in the Nyingma tradition, they have the practice of Dzogchen. In the Gelug tradition and in the Kagyu tradition, we have the great seal or the Mahamudra. And then in the Sakya tradition, they have what we call the union of clarity and emptiness. And where in this context, clarity here refers to the characteristic of the mind, and emptiness here refers to the nature of the mind. But whatever it is, even just to know, to identify your object of meditation is really so difficult, much less trying to focus on it and then develop concentration. Yeah. So you can see, although I've been talking, what I've just given you is a short introduction to the to the placement meditation or stabilizing meditation, but there is a difference, isn't it, in how that placement meditation is done, and there is a difference in the object of meditation. Yeah. Anyway, this is just a very brief introduction, yeah, to the topic.
딱 곰자기 인스 조금 찍을 삼당바이나 텐텐 고메 요사레 나텐 삼기유스 말만 티 숨다 딱 조금 찍을야 곰자야라 조금래야 인여 삼기유나 곰루 곰다 텐디지 레스네 무타 모든 두두 텐디지.
So for those of you who really have that, interest, to develop some kind of concentration. So what I've just said is my suggestion and my introduction, basically a short introduction to the topic, yeah, for you, yeah.
나랑 길게 삼수체나 만조 참말로 쇼게 미 카체와다 상계저도 초지 초나나 장주화도 나네죠 다기 제소집에 처음 롤라벤지 산전 루비 쇼승인데 다디 대응 거야지 디 삼당 거야지 디 개체슈를 나한테 상계였어 나랑 길게 삼수이스 다 근데 인도 상계스 간디치 상계어 간디치니 개기여 최 생긴데 겹노 간디치니 겹기여 긴둔 생긴데 개디 가게래 개와 타르와샤 델은 둠바스 타르발 둠바스는 간디스 디 간디스 로당 간디스 로거래 디 간디스 로거를 saying 가테 para samgate bodhis 다 두신 로르바스 딘디치 삼다인데 칸네 상게 쳐다 소지 초나라스네 직진 넘버티기 삼노 딘데치니 니마르르야 상게 콜 삼다 디치 니마제마들 Dharma세 최티 콜 삼다 니마숨바들 딘둔들 삼다 딘데체베이나 직 넘버 직버직야레데 콜 좋아 민라바치 용제 뭐네 디 넘버 산제베기 최티 겹루 겹당다다 콜 저베 둘루트다 그래서 셴나면라네 딘데지 누가 선배 이체 체르치 대바 체르치 매바 체르치 샘라 닝도 체르치 어떤데 인물을 쓴 것도 어디 제정에 되게 통불라비야기 조금 내자 조금 개체를 쓰는데 딘데레스 딱 칸에 상계 주도 된거 알을 때아 뭐냐다네 네 밀루 딘데지게 토네 다른 사람도 딘데지 코트 받을 시워지고 고급 중순다 디심지 둔룰룰 딘데 하고야도 카보를 왔으면 단전예가에 드네 용도야. 다 달래랑 요거 섬나 땅나마도 딜로단 다왔되는가 로제마 공군이 딜로제마 공군이스나 네 두준 단계 유매 하고 그 말했었네. 저와 미다바에 섬된다. 랜데야 디나네요. 장주 있으면 되네요. 동반이야 되네요. 상계세디 야보지 하고라 동반이데 하마고나 상계투야 여바기 갈사 동네 콜다 제바 톡발레네 조장 톱는 수도 봐 이노스네 여자를 묻히기 귤라메 30나는 숨도 상게 투기 예바기 너바데 동네 콜다 제바 톡발네 하고고도 왔어 대인도 다 동반이 생인데 개정보를 해산도 람름 용조 상게 저다 소지 전화서 디나네 강가 두야 예데버지 딘데도 왔어 대인도 제금 생인데 개정보를 해야 되나 디스.
So that was a short introduction to placement meditation. But now, let me tell you my real thoughts about this, okay? My personal opinions about meditation. So let me tell you, okay? When we wake up in the morning, one of the prayer perhaps that we should all recite and think about is actually refuge and bodhichitta. The verse Sangye Chödang Chogi Chonamla Changju Badu Dani Gyapsuchi and so forth, right? I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create from practicing giving and the other perfections, may I become a Buddha for all sentient beings. Okay, this is what I think, okay? Now, what exactly is this Buddha that we are trying to be? The word for this Buddha in Tibetan language consists of 2 syllables, sang and ge. Sang is to dispel or to eliminate. Ge is to develop, to cultivate, isn't it? So what on earth is this Buddha that we want to be, and what on earth is this Buddha that we are taking refuge in? Likewise, we take refuge in the Dharma, isn't it? What exactly is the Dharma? Why is it that the Dharma is the actual refuge? The thing that actually protects us is the Dharma, not the Buddha, not the Sangha, right? And then what exactly is the Sangha? The word for Sangha in Tibetan is Gyendun, consisting of 2 syllables. Gye is virtue, literally, but what it means here in this context is liberation. Dun is to aspire. So you put the 2 together, the Sangha are those who are aspirants, those who are aspiring to liberation from samsara, isn't it, right? So what exactly is this Buddha, Dharma and Sangha that we are taking refuge in? And then how does one proceed, to become, to actualize the Dharma, to become a Sangha and to become a Buddha, So there's this mantra in the Heart Sutra, isn't it? Tayata kate kate, para kate, parasam kate, bodhi swaha. So there are many things to think about, isn't it? Although the prayer that we recite with our mouth, sangye cho dang so gi cho nam la, is the same. But if you meditate on the meaning of the prayer, then there's real the flavor, you can taste, the prayer, so to speak. It's not just mere words, isn't it? Right? So there are many things to think about. How does the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha actually protect me? And how will I actually be liberated from samsara? So if we think about these things and we sort them out, you really have a clear idea of all these points, then you will see gradually over time that our faith, our devotion in the 3 jewels will actually increase, And now that we have a human life of freedoms and endowments, we have such a good opportunity to really practice refuge and to develop bodhichitta, isn't it, right? So if you can feel how fortunate you are to have all the conditions to do so right now, essentially, then you would also be thinking about this particular Lamrim topic, the Lamrim topic of the perfect human rebirth. Then on top of that, and then if you bring to mind how we are all going to die, and the time could be really soon, we really don't know when, isn't it? And when the time comes, only Dharma will help us, nothing else, So if these thoughts come to mind, then essentially we are also practicing and meditating on the Lamrim topic of death and impermanence, isn't it? And by the way, also then, you can bring in the other topics like karma and its effects. Then slowly, then you have bodhichitta. Then you have meditation on emptiness, yeah. And and in order to really understand what on earth enlightenment is, full enlightenment is, or what Buddha is, then we need to know emptiness. Without knowing emptiness, then there's really no way. It's impossible to see, to really understand how it is actually possible for oneself to become a Buddha. Without understanding emptiness, there's no way to develop that kind of conviction. Yeah, all right. So, and in basically, the entire Lamrim, the stages of the path to enlightenment, it can be explained and can be meditated on the basis of this prayer of refuge and bodhicitta. So that's why, right at the beginning of this session earlier on, I said that of the two kinds of meditation, placement meditation and analytical meditation is more beneficial, more important. Anyway, these are my really personal thoughts on the issue. So this is the answer to the first question. So now Geshe-la will yes. So the second question is, when we generate bodhichitta and say, may I benefit all sentient beings, so what does it really mean? Is it on the screen, yeah? Yeah. What does it really mean, you know?
That did was. So la kange mangbochi tege yobade ha go was. So la kange mangbochi te yombe kable ya lucho kange da semso kange ni jeje lucho kange di semso gi digi gi sigine tu yoda ba. Ine ya semso kange di lucho digi gi sigine tu go me de ba. Tinde indu semso digi singede ke chambu shibuji yimba. semso gi digi ane ji 강에 마부지 베트 타르 라르 미게베 최전도 체네 줘야지 예대봐 지다 딘데티 ninjung korbe samnuti ta yundu shine tel towachi nya yumba kabla tene semje shenda to do se jikta yundu atsi ta digiti ngone tano go korje digi deba chigbareti nyamtawa tindrechigi nyande sha ta khangta samajigi ene chowate lebe kabla ya ta semje digiti 가상에 망가란서 까면 중원듯이 야정압주 담바 ngaransugi digidi sanjegi tuji chelol tene yungu yoba 야정압주 담바 semjengi tinil tene yungu yoba di ngaransu da shego mare ame kokoni kebane sunje tar sanje koma matoji patu debe gewa ngama 장매바 다다기 gewa 마음be gewa 용수조바 digi 망부지 semjengi tinil tene 중앙인데 다 세버래 엔 산지 유 콤반토가 춘제 엔 semjeng tinten 종았다 땡땡 세브레 다 딘데지 인도 콘솔라 tin레지 자고도 다 tin레데 가르치 콘솔라야 땡도 데베 대화지 토바지 중로잖아 엔게 tin레 약슈드레 샤도 다 딘데지 인도 땡도 데베 대화 고야라 안 람마노와 람양다와 딘데지 땡 툼얘기 누바데 다 산게지 콤반데 데샤 디체도 나 산게지 콤바토고 두스 다 딘데지 임반다 그래서 들레다 다도야 그래서 독도직 sö나 가르사 들레 들레 dumban인den기 아니 장 들어봐 랑 조스케베 셴도도 조버 장줄로미 dum바도 총den기 조이긴 남리들라 장주고 생스거와 셴든 되냐게 dumbe 규체 장주 되냐게 dumbe 조체 근데 조이긴 남 셴든 되냐게 dumbe 규체 쓰는데 semjen 탐제 동에다 타와 직 자국도 대체도 나산제주 공부 토고도 세 단 dumban이데 독스를 봤어 대인도 semjen 탐제 동에다 타서야 될라 개주인 상고와 semjen 딩게디 제시 방법 이용 까딘jen인 바탄 거야 딕 차시 직당 두조 강긴나베 동해 모여서 디차시지 딩잉이게 토네 에네네 산제주 공부 토고도스 어따테 임바
We know on a personal level the difficulties that we go through in life, isn't it? We experience problems, suffering, difficulties on a physical level and on a mental level. That is clear. And it is also clear from our experience that if deep down we are happy, then even though we may be experiencing some difficulties on a physical level, that mental happiness can help us cope with the difficult physical situation. Perhaps even to the point where it doesn't really bother us. But it's not the case the other way around, yeah? Physically, we may be well, but deep down, we are not happy. Then, no matter how much physical pleasures we may experience, that does not help to, fill the void in the heart. It does not remove our depression, our mental unhappiness, isn't it? So, mental satisfaction, mental happiness is very important. Nowadays we talk about mental health, isn't it? Right here. So, so if we can see for ourselves that in reality we can actually achieve a state, where we will never ever have to suffer again, then we would then develop this determination, a wish to be free of all suffering, if we see that it is possible in the first place, right? So that's why we have renunciation. Renunciation is that. Renunciation comes from seeing that such a state where we will never have to ever to suffer anymore exists, and it is possible, right? Then on the basis of that individual experience, right, you see for yourself, it exists, it's possible. Then when we turn our attention to other sentient beings, other suffering sentient beings, isn't it? And when we see, actually, all of us are the same, yeah? We all want the same thing, isn't it? But because they do not see the point yet, therefore they're suffering, and they're suffering needlessly, isn't it, right? So like I mentioned a couple of days ago, right? All our happiness up to enlightenment, 50% of it comes from the Buddhas, but 50% comes from all sentient beings, from the kindness of all the sentient beings. Yeah? And this is quite obvious. I mean, we were born. The reason why we've got a human body is because of our mother, isn't it? We have to depend on the kindness of sentient beings, yeah? And all the other happiness that we experience in this life, all the other happiness that we have experienced since beginning this lifetime, and all the happiness that we will experience in the future, all the way up to, including the happiness of full enlightenment, all of this can only happen because sentient beings exist, because of their kindness. This is clear, yeah? And if we see that, if we really see that and feel that, then naturally, a wish to repay their kindness will arise in us, isn't it? And when you have a wish to repay the kindness of others, then what is the best way of repaying their kindness? The best way of repaying their kindness is to lead, to help all sentient beings achieve permanent, everlasting happiness. And in order to do that, we ourselves must have the power, the ability, the capacity to place sentient beings, others, on an unmistaken path, to place them on a unmistaken path, and the path that is complete, not an incomplete path. It has to be a complete path as well, isn't it? Then, who has such powers or ability? Then it's only a Buddha, isn't it? So that's where bodhichitta comes into the picture. Bodhichitta, or the mind of enlightenment, is essentially a main mind that has two aspirations. In simple English, is a main mind that has two aspirations. An aspiration to accomplish the welfare of all sentient beings, and an aspiration to achieve full enlightenment. This aspiration to accomplish the welfare of all sentient beings is the cause of bodhicitta arising, and such an aspiration is then accompanied by the aspiration to become a Buddha. So if we put these two together, bodhicitta in simple English is I must accomplish the happiness and the welfare of all sentient beings, and therefore for that reason I need to become a Buddha. Simply speaking, bodhicitta is such a thought, isn't it, right? But in order also for such an attitude to arise, in the first place, sentient beings must matter to us. All sentient beings must matter to us. From our side, we must be able to feel a sense of closeness to every sentient being. From our side, they must matter to us. They must be very precious to us from our side. And we must also understand what exactly suffering is. So all these elements must come together, yeah? And then the real bodhicitta would arise.
다 깨져 도도 지와티기 깨져 도도 지 슈베이나 따담 공면 숭줄라 삼바 현전 삼네 랑던 샬라 drubayis samjuti semjen sheng tondal sambares drubyati job sanje ju kompanti social drubares semjen shengi shendeng samnote matana job sanje ju kompan top khara yamares ta dires ditnenga chambuchires.
The great Kadam masters of the past, they have a saying, what you are thinking or what you are aspiring to is the happiness and the welfare of all sentient beings. But at the end, what you achieve, by the way, is your own full enlightenment. So yes, from the heart, such a person is thinking really from the heart, about others, wanting to accomplish the happiness and the welfare of all sentient beings. But in the end, who is it that becomes a Buddha? For sure, that person, he or she will become a Buddha, right? So you see, without thinking about others, the happiness of other sentient beings, in fact all sentient beings, then there is no way we will become a Buddha ourselves. Yeah.
다 근데 장주 승이 냠래 제발라 유체 년중당 두추거기 강근나베 동행외 숭야다 선전시엔 지시판비 용도 따야다 두수 유체도 녜라 만로와 찍라 녜라 만로와 선전 탐지기 돈도 다그 조브 산지 공부토버쇼 삼노 상부 코르점지기 뱅게 매대바 뒤다가스게 둥직슈스 만저 파유 별이야 아니 사밍이 예임버 사자니 아니 단 랑다오 초가티 단 나자 주슈지 나기 예임버래 근데 아자티기 단 닌정에 사자한테 답에 미시베 나자 시주지 나고도 디 나자티기 상망 알아라 야츠 거로 체나 삼베 모놈 자기 예임버래 ene kapti dule ya ta nganzo tanden dig log soru tinde yomarwa nung shumar chi pa je shagrwa ta nung shumate sala message mato yomarwa ene nimachi chana khongli ya punguchi yonje gote dus je ene punguti gote ne ya dus ya tebe imbre te yongbe kala 아자디 그 섬노다 배지 치다 신전 레버레서 나 말에 코레라브레 나 말에 코레스라브레 어다 디서 주생원도 마소나 semchen 탐제 동에다 다와쇼 semchen 탐제기 돈도 직셀라바티기 각자치 레임베캅라 에네 섬노티 람사 란친지디 슉첨부 에네 람사 레용아지 어두스르 왔을 텐데 인자 주생원을 땅 거에 섬노 마부 땅 거에 주센티레스.
Before we can actually develop the real bodhicitta, we must first train our minds in a couple of things, the things that I've already mentioned. In particular, first we must develop renunciation. On a personal level, we must have renunciation first, renouncing the entire cyclic existence. We must have that first. Then, on that basis, Then from our side, we have to see all sentient beings as being very kind and precious, to the point when that from our side they all matter to us. Okay. Without this, even though you may recite the word, may all sentient beings have happiness and its causes, may all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes, and I will become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I mean, we are reciting words that are very good, but it's impossible for us to really generate the real compassion, real love, real bodhichitta. Is impossible. So let me tell you a story. This happened in Tibet. So there was a couple, right? So the husband became very sick. So the wife, then was very worried, of course, for the husband. So the wife really prayed, may his sickness befall on me. May I take on his sickness, right? So she prayed, she generated such a wish, right? Then in those days in Tibet, there was no electricity, right? So then then of course at night, then you have to light a butter lamp. And I mean, in those days, a lamp, whatever, a butter lamp or whatever it is, and of course the butter lamp, it can only do so much, right? I mean, it is not very clear, but clear enough maybe to do some simple task. Yeah. So then one night, for whatever reason, a donkey appeared at the door of the house, and the donkey poked his head into the house. So the wife, of course, then the wife saw the donkey, but the wife thought that the Yama has arrived. The Lord of Death has arrived, and we say New Thoma again, right? And then right away, instinctively, the wife said, "No, it's not me, it's him." so this is just an example, no? So if we can go and try and about, and then practice bodhichitta, and it's good. But but if we have not trained our minds in the preliminary topics, no, then when the actual time comes, when you meet with difficult situations, then you can see the self-cherishing. The self-cherishing is very strong. Yeah, it just arises naturally, right? Yeah. So that's the answer for the second question. Right? So that's the third question here. So, dear Rinpoche, you have taught us about emptiness. How can we meditate on emptiness?
Deshe yan Dhamma shira jabju yore ta penna doju chobala ya ing yebe tinde chigi na doju chobe jugu tela ya ane karma ta rabri ta marme ta yuma ta siva ta chubur ta milam ta lo ta ma tinde chigi pechi sungu duas ta ti na ne yuma ti kaseba chigres milam ti kaseba chigres na shindu tong shindu nang sach duas yumanliya kar tata language kar nangi yinaya toyongo tola talanga tongbare yinaya tong shindu nang dayachi nawa na shinjigi pana zene ngeya yorbe yomaris milam nala rirawa kangjim nangi yore probo tungu yore tende yore nang shindu yorbesna yomaris yang bete 자원인의 매버르스나 밀럼그 숭인지 여여르바스 나 신도 동 신도 나 밀럼 다 유마다 밀럼티 디나는 숭구도 와스 아니 주인한 그 숭인데 숭구여래 다 든데지기 도저나 뺄래야 차샤니 유마 kengi talante chita truba na shinchigi talante na 동어도라 매대바다 밀럼라 리라와 관계 나와나시 쟤네 아니 딱던자네 예 매대바 디도 지소소 냠용든데 지 차샤바이나 되네 디기 다 두자티기 아니 마세 알tam 강사게 다 여다매사지 마사지 dakshi 풍봉하고 라야 따샤바 되기 에는 마상에 간데지 도와스네 에는 신에 뒤배트조 냥이야 섬단에 되네 야 수기 풍부 초여 풍부 두시 풍부 두지기 풍부 남시기 띵는 마상에지 녀야 두게스네 딱든 잔이 녀야 두게스네 어디 딱든 잔에 녀야 매대바지 다 초점라 때내 샤자지마도 딱든 잔에 녀야 매대바 다들라 에네 양성고 찍가야르스나 수기 풍부데 다 멤버데 세비시다레 수기풍부다 샤지드라와 다 겨 통모 매반네 니리용 니네 껴와 치만 로승게데 남시 지그 두기요 인자 에네 남시 디다 딱든 잔에 남시 간다 마승인디 다 페지 대차샤야 도와 섬르지 용구 열어때 남시 들라 에네 타라라 잔네 뜻 제바쳐야지 두숨을 잔네 제바쳐야 니도와스 남시 타라라 잔네 제바쳐있으나 깨와 통만 매반네 니리 용 니네 치만 로사야기 니네 치만 로사야데 치와웨선 가마타네 바르도 룹사야기 치와웨선 가마사야기 딘데기 남시 타모 쉬부지를 자르기도와스 딱 나한테 남시 타모들이베스 아니 나는 남시 타모들이스나 단단 날 원도 규리어 말베스 남시 타몽원도 규르미도 왔어 남시 라봉원도 규르되 갑라 아니 강원도 여 규와 여 말베스 다 딘데 기체바 치디 아니 남시 타라라 자네야 디레스는 주주야 매대 단 대바는가 몽바는 중규 다다베 남시 승이지 녀야 여르베스나 디양깔 가고 가차다 엔 가체 양차다 딘데 인도 다다와 딱든 자네 녀야 매나 대바다 몽바 될 때는샤 다 딘데 인도 다 간다 풍부가 있더니 나생이지 딱든 자네 녀야 매타죠 예네 예스다 딱게저 도도 때와 딘다 예네 예 만로 만예 마사 마퉁사지 예바데 용의 카타 예네 예 유주데 간데 레스는 쟤네 풍부가 있나는 쟤네 녀야매 다 딩이니디 주 너무 윤두 다맛 민기 왕기 샤잠 때네 딱점 디마도 랑그 둘루중외네 딱든 잔네 야 민두스네 다디 유만 캥기 탈란티 쟤네 딱 니네 스네 야 민두 밀람 강 리로와 강김데 쟤네 야 민두 쟤네 야 메바 찌버찌간 레샤스 다 티레다 동반이 곰도 텐데 고야 이마다스.
There are many ways of answering this question, but perhaps I'll use this verse from the Vajrakata Sutra as an example. There's this verse which says a star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or water bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see composed phenomena as such. There's this verse, okay? And I'm not going to talk about all the examples in that. So an illusion is given as an example. A dream is given as an example. So let's talk about illusion and a dream, okay? So, here the examples of an illusion and a dream is analogous of how everything that exists is empty of existing from their own side, but yet they do exist, they appear. And while things exist and appear, at the same time, they are empty of existing from their own side. Yeah. So, and we can try to understand this using the analogy or the example of an illusion or a dream, isn't it? So an illusion is something that is made by the magician or the illusionist, isn't it, right? a perish or image or that the illusionist conjures. I mean, we see it, yeah? But we know that it's not real, right? Likewise, in the dreams, we see many things. But when we wake up, we know that we can remember what we saw in the dream, but we know at the same time, instinctively, that is not real, isn't it? But it doesn't mean that the dream didn't happen, yeah? Right? Okay? So, on the basis of understanding these conventional examples, right? Then, likewise, when we search, when we think about the I, we have this sense of I, or the self, isn't it, right? So, the I or the self is nothing more than that which is merely imputed, merely vaccinated, independence upon our body and mind, independence upon our 5 aggregates, right? The aggregate of form, feeling, discrimination, compositional factor, and consciousness, isn't it, right? So when we have this sense of I, then we should see, where exactly is it? If it is so real, then let's look for it. Is it the body, or is it the mind, right? And I think probably, it's quite obvious that we all kind of instinctively know that the body cannot be the I, isn't it? Right? Because we know that one day we'll die, isn't it? And this body has to be left behind, isn't it? But at the same time, we believe that we will go on to the next life, isn't it? Right? So since it is the mind that goes from life to life, then it's very likely that we will then think that the mind is the I. The mind, our mind is the self. When we talk about I, what is this I or me? It's very likely we think, oh, it's the mind. I am the mind, mind is me, We have that. It's very likely, right? So, that is what we think instinctively. Then we should then analyze, check if that is really the case. So, if the mind is really the I, so the mind exists on different levels. There are coarser levels of mind. There are also subtler levels of mind. Okay, so the most subtle level of mind that we all have is the clear light. So when we die, at the end of our death process, the mind, the extremely subtle mind of clear light is manifest, and then we move from within that state into the Bado, or the intermediate state. Yeah. So if we say that the mind is the I, so then are you going to say that that extremely subtle mind of yours at the time of death, because all causal levels of mind has stopped functioning, yeah? So are you going to say that, oh, I am the extremely subtle mind, the extremely subtle mind is me? Are you going to say that? So if you say that, then if somebody were to ask you, then now, when you're sitting here, when you're now listening, when we are kind of awake, then do you exist now? Is your I manifest or not? Because now, your extremely subtle mind is not manifest, isn't it? So are you going to say, what are you going to say? And vice versa. If you say that the cause mind is the I, then you will run into the same problem, right? So then, and another way of checking is that, we talk about a mind in terms of a stream of awareness, isn't it? Consciousness is a stream of awareness, isn't it? So as long as you talk about a continuum, then we can talk about time, past, present, and future. The past has ceased to exist. Yeah. So the future has yet to arise. So if you say that the mind is the I, then it has to be the present moment of mind, right? So if you say that the present moment, the present mind, the mind of the present is the I, then what exactly is the present? This year, this month, this week, this day, this hour, this second, and then I don't know what's smaller than a second, I don't know, millisecond and what have you know. And then are you going to say that what exactly, which moment of mind is the I? Because mind you, we have really said, the mind, it cannot be the past, it cannot be the future. The past has ceased to exist, yeah? The future is yet to come. So, but yet, if you look for the mind of the present, where? So if you cannot point to something that is concrete, you know, the mind of the present, then without the present, then how can there be the past? And how can there be the future? So you see, you run into all these difficulties, yeah. But yet the funny thing here is, now here's the main point. Obviously the I exists. We know from our experience. I mean, it's brainless, right? I mean, every day, I eat, I sleep, I'm walking. So obviously, isn't it? And it is an irrefutable fact, isn't it? Obviously the I exists. But how does the I exist? The question is not about whether the I exists. The question is, how does the I exist? So you basically only have two options. The I existing real from its own side. That it cannot be the case, because if the I is so real and concrete, it can be found, then when you look for it, you should be able to find it. But the funny thing is, no, when you look for it, then it suddenly becomes so vague. You cannot point to anything that is the I. But yet, not finding the real I does not mean that the I is non-existent. So obviously the I exists from our experience. So at the end of the day, we are left with no alternative. The only way basically the I can exist is that it is something that exists as in mere name, something that exists through the force of convention, through the force of imputation, isn't it, right? So it exists, but when you look for it, it cannot be found, right? So it's like going back to the dream and the whatever image that the magician conjures, isn't it, right? I mean, it appears, right? But when you search and you go near it, it's like, what exactly it is? It's not real, right? But yet you cannot refute the appearance. The appearance is there, isn't it? So, yeah.
Tizu shirada mendu ta keje ji shena digi sare dilianjo shena penna chag gyujagi chagri metal chagri gyujagi seba chikbarwas o nitombares ni jambe anres ni jizu domares tako lugji gyabshaba chikba chigla ane sobda thigi thone ane ditombares de tomba jambe anres de jambe drama reside drama or drama ditomba relamna ko drama ngoshi mindu sachi yungurwa jambe yandal drama relamna o ko jambe yandal drama ni ngoshi mindu sachi yungurwa ta ngone thane jena ditomba amare di jambe amare di drama amare di chachi resla ya sarjrwa di tinde labge marwa ta ko ipsu ko be khabar chigla tene ene drama ta jambe yandal cheresi ipsu ko be khabarle toyolane meloshis 지시 깬소 등에 봐 류네 기분 넘버 나스 만족한가 배틀 차샤네 디 야세 좀 쉬월라 준주고 쓰래 단단 알아서 참말로 그 남시디스네 수직이 남시 통해요 말에 뭐시에 다 미티 섭다 들라테네 단 존레 메리레 다시레 분소레스네 디디 류기 기부 섭다 들라테네 아니 미티레스 제제 라버바스 오늘 섭다 거랑문에 제나 미스자네 레요 마르바스 딱고 들 ken cho cham chila tene ane miti tukse ta pa cham do ma sebe dingye punjare dingye jojore dingye singmores tinde ki tanye dingye amare pabares tanye de tak tan rugo was o de tukanga ane tene sha ba tene sha ba imba o 지 입수 급에 개발을 토요일에 멜로시스 지시 깬소 등에봐 류니키부 넘버 나스 로번 산제장기 부터 빨리다기 최 탐제 뜨네 샤바 임바티 아니 베틴데 샤도 와스 리모트 샤바 틴데기 에네 참주다 에네 창바다 야지다 도서 에네 디디레스도 미치기 어디 창바레 섭다 틴데 도와 디 원주레스 지숨키 도와스 디 동바시어 디 창바레스 디 지숨키어 디 원주레스 도스체네 labgi duwas labe shisungi ene chawati juktu duwas odi bet mebe keja mares yo yores yoba nashi takten sene nya yo mares takecha tire
maybe just I'll just continue to answer this
question. Tande tigi petigi tes kananso kodderu rawa yores.
So let me give you an example which I hope might make things easier for all of us. You see, we have many statues here on the altar, and this assuming they're all made from roughly the same material. Let's say it's bronze or some kind of metal. Yeah. Red metal, yeah. So, yeah, I mean the different statues here, but many of which are made from metal. Is there different kinds of metal, right? So they're all made from, let's say, assuming they're all made from the same metal, but because they are fashioned into specific shapes, right? Based on that, then we identify that statue as Tara, this statue as Buddha, maybe another statue as Manjushri, yeah? I mean, right, although they're all made from metal, but because of having different shapes, then we identify them individually, right? I mean, if somebody comes along and say, if somebody comes and somebody comes to you and points his finger to Manjushri and then tells you that this is Tara, and if you know that that is not Tara, then you would think, no, it's wrong, isn't it? Right? Isn't it right? I mean, generally speaking, you won't have somebody who will come up and say, all of you are wrong. This is not Tara, this is not Manjushri, this is all metal. I mean, nobody will say that. I mean, somebody says that, conventionally, people always xiao, it's crazy. But anyway, right? So depending on the shape, right, here, then we say this is Tara and this is Manjushri and what have you, yeah. So likewise here, when we interact with people, we meet with all kinds of people, all kinds of sentient beings every day, isn't it, right? And between their body and mind, we don't see their mind, isn't it? Right? Consciousness has no form, right? So what we see is their body, isn't it, right? On the basis of seeing a specific body, then we say, Geshe-la lai liao, Geshe Tashi lai liao, or we see, or John, or whatever, you get the idea, right? You see the body with this particular attributes, shape, and then we say, I saw Tashi, or this is John, right? Okay? But actually, if we think about it, we all know, right? I mean, the person is not the shape, right, of the body. It is obvious, isn't it? But yet, conventionally in the world, that's how we function, isn't it? We don't question, right? It functions that we are able to identify one another, right? Nobody disputes that, isn't it? But, the person is not the shape of the body. But, so this is an example of how, things do exist when all the conditions come together, in dependence upon the coming together of various causes and conditions, then we impute, right, a term, a name to the object in question, and then that's how we live our lives. Is that, I mean, in reality, it is like that, isn't it? Right? So likewise, no, you see, why do we say that this person is my father, this person is my mother, this is my brother, and so forth, right? Right. It is a mere designation, a mere imputation by thought, isn't it? Right? The great Indian master Buddha Palita gave a similar example. I mean, the examples that he gave was like, a drawing of Brahma. Brahma, the Indian god Brahma, has 4 faces. Then you have Shiva, who is normally depicted as holding a trident. Yeah. So why do we say that this is Brahma and that is Shiva? Because Brahma must have 4 faces, and Shiva usually holds a trident. Yeah. And based on that, that kind of idea, then we say, oh, this is Brahma and this is Shiva. But people get the idea, right? But yet, nobody actually thinks that the image is actual Brahma, that the image is actual Shiva, isn't it? But people get the idea. It works, isn't it? So it is a sign that, and this is just an example of how in reality, everything that exists as being dependently designated. Dependently designated, right?
Dharma mare chuzu gubasens. Dandati chanju semde kyutinangmo chocho yorbe. Chanju semde.
Chanju semde.
That is a kind of mare.
Oh, no.
Yes. Chanju semde nala. Puram ron ngarwatas. Puram grot ngarwachidwas. May ranshin tsawarredwas. Tinnanshin chis. Tishin chönam tamjiki. Ranshin tongba need juice. Say nye yo martas, tongbarta, nye yo martas, getati martas. Puram the candidate resna, curranshin the ngarbores. Med the candidate resna, curranshin the sabores. Betina she chur tamjigi, ranshin the carresna, Dr. Zani neva yo mares. Dire matoji, chu kawa yo mare, pumba yo mars, tindelaba martas. Chuti rangshin tongba nis res lavares. Rangshin ti takdun zani nyeba yomares lavares. Tinde indu rangshin takdun zani nyeba yomares cheba tiki chu yomares lav yomare tiki cheta setugres. Ane ken kang teba meba trubu yomare slav yomare ti indu tiki takdaya segres tiki chetaya segres tiki takdaya segres ne chanju semte tsik. Sholoka nichi duwa sendinge halevegi tsikdi nubach modu sangadus dinge kanansala ma ngotrichigi yes.
There is this verse from Nagarjuna's commentary on bodhichitta, verse number 57. Just as sweetness is the nature of molasses and heat the nature of fire, likewise, we maintain that the nature of all phenomena is emptiness. So, what this verse is saying is this, When we talk about emptiness, we are not saying that, oh, everything is empty. They do not exist. Emptiness does not mean nothingness. Emptiness does not mean that things are not existent. No, not at all. Right? Because we say that the nature of molasses is sweetness. And the nature of fire is heat. It burns, isn't it? So likewise, we maintain that the nature of all phenomena is emptiness. So what do we mean when we say the nature of all phenomena is emptiness? It means that whatever object in question, they do not exist from their own side. They do not exist inherently. if you were to search for the real object, the real, right from his own side, an object with objective existence, you will not be able to find or point to something that is the object. Yeah. So that is the nature of everything that exists. Things exist precisely because they are not inherently existent. Right? So you see, so by not saying that things do not arise from conditions, by not saying that things do not arise from conditions, then we avoid the extreme of permanence. So basically, things do arise from conditions, right? And we also then avoid the extreme of total non-existence by saying that they exist in mere name, they do function, So anyway, Rinpoche said he finds this verse very to be very good, yeah. This particular verse, yeah.
That is a sense of scontas that shandatos and romasos.
Time's up. So Rinpoche said it's time's up. One more. We will try another question. One more.
Huh?
Or
the land rots us.
So question 4 was essentially was answered. So let's look at question 3. Question 4. See the question 4 on the screen. So that was essentially answered. So let's look at question 5. What are the things that we must keep in mind when we are dying? For Tantric practitioners and non-practitioners, I assume non-practitioners here are non-Tantric practitioners?
Mm-hmm.
Or
that Judangi Michil Chashabaina Susu Mitsinanlia Pianla Pendo Cheba and Joba Sambo Cheba. Tikiti susu tene and gawa gom shimangane shigina ti haleva topchambuchi sambure samgiyos ti cheba yimba the maim bikecha kabar meba chachres shanla pendo cheba susu joba sambu chebe chatikiti that tim joba sambu sa the tim songate that dene dochogi cheba chigungone sheba yina or 창주 승인 패배 남주대 이대 버시 공부 챙기로 쓰네 간다 동아 양다 잡에 동아 기스네 라마 쳬배 나려야 창주 군조 창주 그선 돈단 창주 그선 등이 공도 표야 그 체도 안에 삼도 당기 제 편바 당제 도스 책이나 dobchambu yungures je tame domdo tinde jabdu was ta jirnga dinane nga lamel cha shabaina dorna kishi pato kansharya ngonche kombe lamjeran namsungi sande gejun kuma tojude chize yila gawa gebr shosne jerumbuchi sawande molom nam tinde sundu was ta chiwa chukulamje pato lungulamje kyawtu kebelamje gomne shigalangade ta tikkomje ene toks jesona chiwa ranga wala mandroya parto ranga wala mandroya kyawa ranga wala mandroya chigi ane peti kishi pato kansharya ngonche gomshabage lamjir sumbuti chedas ene sande gejung gomat ene chiwe kabla ngamra kyunemeba gashi troshindu yungres chize yila gawa geber shos otisungduas.
So let's talk about, let me answer this in a general way first. without differentiating between practitioners and non-practitioners. Yeah. So in general, this is applicable to everyone. Yeah. So I think the best thing is to live a life that was beneficial to others, that was helpful to others, and to live a life with ethical discipline. So if you live such a life, and then at the time of death, you can reflect on what you have, how you have lived your life, and then you're able to go happily. You have no regrets. Yeah, you feel happy, rejoice, isn't it? Right? Then, let's say if the person in question is a practitioner or sutra. So there is this verse in the Guru Puja, which I'm not able to cite from memory, I being the translator, right? I mean in English, yeah. But there's a verse that talks about practicing the 5 powers, right? So in essence, basically, if we can pass away while thinking of bodhichitta, you know, right? If you can pass away while thinking of bodhichitta, then as for a real practitioner of Tantra, or as in particular Hayasuka Tantra, there is this verse in the Guyatamaja prayer composed by Jhado Rinpoche. And the essence is this here. Since that practitioner has spent his or her whole life doing the practice of taking ordinary death, intermediate state, and birth as the path of the 3 bodies, then likewise, at the time of death, since that person has really done that practice in the life, then the person who is dying should just do that practice, isn't it? And in so doing, then he's able to, that practitioner is able to then make his death, intermediate state, and rebirth into something that is not ordinary. So if the person who can do that will be able to die happily accept the process and go through it, you know. But question 6. Yeah. So what are the most important things a student must take note after taking a highest yoga tantra initiation? Question 6. Yeah.
Tati temba shinden di insares. Lama temba. Nyingje temba. And yidam temba. And nyamsha nanga tu tongyin temba. Jhado gyumanta tu tongyin tembas. Or tati temba shinden deta. But the nga nyamne chinyin jigi. Nga lame jir. Nga tina nga lame nyamne chinyin jigi. Or tati gyundene. And ting nyamsulen goya te te insares.
So I think if such a practitioner should cultivate the 4 mindfulness. There is a guide to the view called the Song of the 4 mindfulness. And what are the 4 things that a tantric practitioner should remember on a regular basis? Number 1. Remembering the Guru. Number 2, remembering compassion for sentient beings. Number 3, remembering the deity, the practice of deity yoga. And then number 4, bringing to mind, recollecting the view of emptiness in meditation and in between meditation sessions where you cultivate the awareness that everything that appears illusory like. Question 7. So you see the question, right? So how should we visualize or bring to mind the Guru when we are doing our sadhanas or a Guru Yoga, for example? If we have taken initiations from various or different gurus.
that lama doji chang namba gomba roas. Lama doji chang namba gomba tila ko yuchenchi eduas. Lama mixe girbachi sota gomba mama rebas. Tenda veki doji chante lama kundu gi dani. Lama ngapju tamba yona ngapju tamba in dube dani o tus che gomju roas. Ane lama ngapju tamba sayati yuchen yakuchi samdamba ina o kaga mashebe kabla kaga shebegi ine lobden naya ge chedu tuba sangge 좀 dende inara yawa doji changi ane tuji chelab tene ngal kaga lamye gegen naba dindi ji thone ngal chumba ane shung do chogi nyamlen cheje wang kunye inara dindi ji o tuche naba temba re sambe mebe thone ane donda ngodola doji chang jinyi ki tuba imbala samdane ane tuche gomshana digdo mares.
So in the
어디 들는 유배직식이 요래 안에 개보 탑을 캐바지 이나스 고라 개뷰기 둘로지 근제 안 개뷰기 잡아진 제제 얘는 독체 막 롭된지 깔롭나 디지그레스 양갑레 미망가 돈달래 개보 고라 규막 둘로지 근제 엔 독체 미망기 디두다가 도그레스 디두고 개보 둘로 거요 말 미망 규메 둘로 근제 누구였어 어떤데 제제 양갑레 롬보그 남았네 어떤데 제 어떤 나시레 삼나 엔 저거 말했어.
So in the practice of the 6th session Guru Yoga, for example, we visualize the Guru in the aspect of Vajradhara, isn't it? We are not like visualizing a specific Guru with his, own aspect, isn't it? But although the aspect is Vajradhara, we train to see ourselves. We train ourselves to see that Vajradhara is the nature of all of our gurus. Let's say if you have 50 gurus, Vajradhara is the essence, the nature of all your 50 gurus, for example, right? So, we have many teachers in our life, starting with the one who taught us, for example, the Tibetan alphabet, and then the teachers who have taught us sutra and tantra. But whatever the case, from our side, we train to see that they are all different aspects shown by the same being. They're all They're all the manifestations of Vajradhara in different aspects to tame me, to benefit me. So in the teachings, they give an example of a king. A king, generally he's wearing his own attire, isn't it? The royal attire, isn't it? But there are times where he has to put on the attire of normal people, and then he has to go into the crowd to mingle with people, and then to check on the kingdom, so to speak, isn't it? And sometimes he might wear the attire of a minister, But essentially, it's just the same person with different aspects. Number 8, sorry. Question 8, yeah. So what is the purpose of receiving many initiations? Yeah. Instead of just receiving one initiation of one deity and then just focusing on that.
Tatila ngarangi tagas tijuke lenji gyagi indas. Mangbo theba, mangbo le theba, mangbo theba. Sene tinde keja yores, tinde inza. La mangbo gi wang mangbo dus theba ina teta tela tembe, la teta tela tembe. Ane drava chisha, pakcha chisha. 디 용구를 삼거두스 안 라 강갈로게 냠네 제투르베 디 제투야 가부시라레스 디 나네 안 라 개체와 가르레두 수순 담네 수수 람기 냠네 다 데베게 안 라텔이야 조 엔 슈갸야 디레 상거두스 ngal hatte zo shugyage shinda shugmens shinda wan shu nyenge melam nai nor samgadus o.
So let me tell you what I think. So by taking the initiations of different deities, however many number of deities we are talking about, essentially you will be forging a positive connection with those deities, and you leave a positive imprint of those deities on your mental continuum. But however, in reality, it is difficult for anyone to practice every single deity, isn't it? The thing here is, among the various deities there are, you can choose some and focus on them, right? And based on your own needs, you know. Basically, you choose a deity because you want to practice in relation to the path, isn't it? So having said that, it is also wrong to think that I need not and I shouldn't take the initiations of other deities, especially those deities that I have not chosen or I have not focused on. That is wrong. Yeah.
Between Chishana, Jhado Rinpoche, Konglong tu dunye ne, Konglong chuchu para la, chuchu tundu rinjing kundu ne, wang mangbu shada sand was. Ine yang Jhado Rinpoche tudam yang she na yate, yidam sande jiksu yamatava nyamsu lengo resu yate, jizu jambe yang kalu chene du was, that ti hakosar was.
Just to give you an example, if you look at Jhado Rinpoche Lama Tsongkhapa, from the very young age, around 7 or 8, up to the age of 16, you know, he was under the care of one of his teachers, Choje Tundrup, right? So Jhado Rinpoche received many initiations from this particular Lama. But if you look at Jhado Rinpoche's life as a whole, he focused on the three and the main Gelug deities, isn't it, right? Vajrabaraba, Guya Samaja, and Heruka Chakra Sambara. And he practiced these three without separation, without isolating one from the other. And this was in accordance with the advice that he received from Manjushri. Oh. I think we have the last question. Is it number 9? Yeah. What is the meaning or what is the feeling of great bliss? There's so much to be said about this great bliss, yeah. And I don't think I'll be able to say everything.
Nenjo magi tsikchi yores, drebe tube semgi shonude, jode nagi kangwo ngaso tens, ta ngaranzo nangche tosungi chunbe, gundo jejugu dreba tikita tsangwa, ngone tanda ngaranzo kale kaya mena ba, ta korwalo korweringa kale kaya minduwa mato chigo, ngone kale kaya chi res. Rewata tokwa, reto lugu yugi chingdagi chingne, ngone kale kaya chi res. Ta tiki pet gundo jejugu jiche, ini dik 강len 중에 낭제 톱송 되게 파 팀제 탐제 동법 외세 생에 디강들이야 대대바이나 땅원에 전에 드바 용수저버 파 시위기 애네 대화 셴다면로지 여인버스 드베 드베 sem경아 쇼누티스 sem기 쇼누티샤 외세 육매 외세티샤 아니 저대 나기 강부스 저대 생에도 동반일자 동반일라 제지도 냠버 샤와데 아니 대화 전부 이시기 동반일라 냠버 샤 대도예메 대따뜻 배미시베 따 걸서오르다 타두이다 대베술지레스네 두스전에 숨어도 왔다 디기 증대디기 지르메도스.
There is this verse in the prayer to behold the beautiful face of Vajrayogini, composed by Tsachen, the great Sakya Lama, Tsachen Losel Gyatso. And the verse goes like this, yeah. But no matter how I searched for you, O Arya, not finding certainty of you being truly established, the youth of my mind, exhausted by elaborations, came to rest in the forest hut beyond expression, right? So, if we think about it, the thing that disturbs us in our daily lives, day in and out, are all the kinds of thoughts we have. We are flooded by thoughts, isn't it? All kinds of right. We have all right in our lives. Every day we are tormented by unrealistic expectations, and then on the other hand, basically hopes and fears. Yeah. Right. Hopes and basically hope and fears are basically wanting something and then worrying about not getting this and that. All kinds of basically superstitious thoughts. And unhelpful thoughts. Right? Every day, right? We then as such we don't really get a rest. Our mind doesn't get a real rest, right? Every day. So if we are able to dissolve all of these unhelpful conceptual thoughts, and in particular, if we can dissolve all these coarser levels of consciousnesses, including the subtle mind of white appearance, red increase, and black near attainment, into the extremely subtle mind of clear light, then that's the real rest, So, we dissolve all the coarser levels of consciousnesses into the clear light, and then with the clear light mind, then we meditate on the ultimate nature of all that exists. Then we really have real peace, real rest. So here in this verse, the youth of my mind exhausted by elaborations. The youth of my mind here, we can posit that to be referring to the clear light mind, came to rest in the forest hut beyond expression. So beyond expression here referring to the object emptiness. Yeah. So essentially, when we talk about bliss, great bliss, it is the wisdom of great bliss that realizes emptiness, and then these two become indivisibly fused. So the non-dual wisdom of bliss and emptiness. This is what really great bliss is. So the Buddha is also referred to by the term Tathagata, or the one thus gone, or Sugata, the one gone to bliss. If you learn to know the meaning of Tathagata and Sugata, what I have just said, then it's useful.
So thank you, Rinpoche, for teachings tonight. So Anila will guide us mandala offering. Yeah, thank you.
Hello. Oh, okay. We will offer a short mandala for the teaching. No? Dedication? Okay. Dedication. Okay. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened seat of Guru Buddha, that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from the suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Wang po jiang pe yang gan qian kian pe zong kian zong ka pa lo san zhang pe zhang la so wan di mi me zhe wei le qian qian ren zi ri me kian pe wang bo jang pe ya gan chen ken pe tong kin tong ka pa lo san dra pe la so wa de mi me to we the chen chen re zi dream can be wang bo jang pe ya gan chen can be tong kin tong ka pa lo san dra pe ja la so wa de.
Let's thank Rinpoche once again. And everybody rise. And you can we can offer your 3 prostrations. And once again, in tonight's announcements, earlier we missed, so while everyone is prostrating, as we wrap up, so some very important ones because it's happening this couple of days, so please take note. On the 4th of February, Saturday, we are having Kalachakra Puja by Jhado Rinpoche. So on this special day, there will also be 3 special blessing pujas on Li Chun. So this is to pray for world peace and harmony and also the welfare of all beings. So join us on site and online to pray together and gather heaps of auspiciousness for the year of the water rabbit. So do scan this QR code right here for dedication names so that, and this will be closed on the 3rd. So 8 a.m., yeah? So please take note so that the staff can make the necessary preparations, yeah? And of course, the next Jenang will be for Tsongkhapa. So Vajrasattva Jenang and as well as J Tsongkhapa Jenang. So 10th of February. So there will be interpretation from Tibetan to English as well as Mandarin on site. So please scan this QR code to register. And, okay, yes, this is the gift of devotion. So, Namgyalma mantra practice. So, the start of accumulation was, it started on the 26th of January, and the last day of submission is 22nd February. So, Jhado Rinpoche has advised that it would be greatly beneficial if disciples and students of Singha Rinpoche could recite 100,000 of the short Namgyalma mantras each. Please take note, it's each, to dedicate to the long life and good health of Singha Rinpoche. So everyone is welcome to contribute as many mantras as possible. So please, more information on this QR code right here. So do take note, the last day of submission is the 22nd of February, 2359. And of course, safeguard your wealth. This is the reminder. We have been, opening up the vases since 21st of January. So it's all the way up to 5th of February. So offer your ang paos, red money packets, into our temple's vases of abundance and prosperity to create the cause for wealth, stability, and security. So 1 packet in each vase with your name and birth date and time written. So Tek Chen Choling wishes all a bountiful and prosperous Chinese New Year. And of course, Yuan Xiao Jie on 5th of February, this is a very special day. So do offer lights on this Lantern Festival. So Yuan Xiao Jie is also a day to celebrate love, harmony, and family unity. So we warmly invite you and your loved ones to the temple to celebrate with us in prayer and also receive immense blessings from the Three Jewels. So what happened was Jhado Rinpoche also made a special note that we should be offering pink lotuses on this special day. So temple has prepared, so do come by and make your offerings, yeah? And of course, the yellow Zambala fire puja 16th of February. Let's take down the date. 16th of February at 7:30 p.m. So in celebration of Yalo Zambala's birthday, Singhal Rinpoche will be performing Yalo Zambala's fire puja to pray for the flourishing of Dharma and the well-being of all sentient beings. So all are welcome to join us on site to pray as well as to make dedications together with Singhal Rinpoche. So scan to sign up for the fire puja. Closing date is on the 15th of February at 8 a.m. So this is Ile signing off. Thank you very much for staying throughout the announcements. We will see you soon on site. A lot of interesting activities ongoing. Have a great evening, upcoming weekend. Tomorrow is Geshe Tashi doing teachings on Heart Sutra, 7:30 p.m. So we'll see you then. Thank you.